Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am so excited, especially this podcast, because I have a returning podcast supporter here, which I can't wait to talk to about her new stuff. So please be sure to stay tuned and listen to this podcast, and also take the time to go to all of the podcasts and visit all of the pages and check out all the speakers that are on this platform this year. It is utterly amazing having over 54 speakers this year. I think it's phenomenal. So please take advantage of this opportunity, because these guys are here sharing their information and they are here to answer your questions. So just be sure to reach out. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast is to not only share our industry information, but we're also encouraging career seekers and working professionals to enter their line of work or to create new professions. So we want to do that. We also want to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors and partners, a family of authors, Butler Armstead Consulting Solutions, Human Resource Learning Center, J&F Enterprises, and Women Offering Wealth, along with many of our other business partners and sponsors, who is making this event a success. So, as I said in the beginning of the bio, that I am excited that Joan Henry is back on the podcast. Hey, Joan.
Hello, how
All
are
right.
you?
So, Joan, I'm excited about hearing about Joan because she's been doing some phenomenal things here, and I just want to give everybody a little bit of background about her history. Joan is a professional success coach, trainer, entrepreneur. She's also a published author, international radio personality, and she is also founder and president of the Women's Entrepreneur Expo, which is a organization that meets and foster other minority businesses. She is also the founder of a new nonprofit, Risa for Women, and so I'm very excited to hear about that. Joan's interactive approach as a speaker goes beyond just being motivational. It brings lasting and transformative change to businesses, groups, and individuals. And as a motivational coach and speaker, her mission is to help people awaken the possibilities in their personal and professional lives. And so Joan is here to talk about that and also her journey to share with everybody, because I think it's important that we have a really diverse group of people here. And she's definitely one of those folks that can bring that aspect to the podcast. So, Joan, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me back.
I can't wait to hear, girl. I can't wait to hear. So for people who don't know Joan Henry, give us a synopsis of who you are and what you do and what we is and everything like that.
Okay, so and let me first thank you for this amazing opportunity once again. I do not take it lightly that you've invited me back to your platform. So that means I must have done something good the first time, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so to everyone who's listening, you pretty much sum it up. But the only thing that I might add, I'm from the beautiful island Jamaica, and so that goes with everything else that you said. I'm from Jamaica. I'm the founder of the Women's Entrepreneur Expo, the RISA Incorporated, the host of the Joan Henry Radio Show, and host of the We TV show. So, is there any particular order that you would like for me to run the show?
No, no, go right on ahead. I think it'd be helpful for people to kind of understand your journey as to, how did you get started? Because there's a lot of new listeners this year. And so it would be nice for them to understand like your journey. How did you start it with your book, or however you want to begin this? It's all good because everything you say is great.
Okay. So let me start with the book. The book actually came from a place of, from a very humble place, because as a young lady, a youngster growing up in Jamaica, my culture is such that if you are pregnant, you cannot go to high school and you have to pass a certain examination. Back then, it was known as a common entrance examination. That examination before you can go to high school. Otherwise, you go to a secondary school. You're given three chances with that particular examination. So I was able to pass that examination on the very last trial, the third trial. But the problem is, I also passed my pregnancy test, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
So with
wow.
that being yes, with that being said, I did not make it to high school. I had to watch all my friends move on to high school. Now I become a mother. Now, since that day, I knew I had to develop a mindset of moving forward. And I made a promise with God that if He just get me through that situation, I will stop at nothing to do every single thing that He has called me to do, because I knew then that wasn't it. That was just something that came up, unplanned for, came about, but we got to learn how to deal with life's surprises, you know? And so again, I didn't make it to high school. And so after I had my son, I moved to the United States in Brooklyn. And there I started a GED program, which was very hard, by the way. So I had stopped by this college in Manhattan. It's called the Audrey Cohen College. I stopped there so that I can inquire about their associates program, because as you know, sometimes we mess up, we feel like we got to start very low. So the instructor at the time, the advisor, he said, well, we have a bachelor's program, and if you start that program after 60 college credit, you can actually get what they call a high school equivalency diploma. And so I did just that. And fast forward 4 years later, I graduated with my bachelor's in human services. And then I moved down to Maryland and enrolled into the social work program at Howard University. And so I was very fine, because I feel as though, I master everything I set out to master. But then I remembered, my bargain was to do all that I'm created to do, get to the top of the educational chart. And so I remember that there's another degree that I could get. And as a result, I am currently enrolled. This is my second year with Grand Canyon University, where I'm exploring my doctorate in business administration
Oh,
with a
wow.
focus on management. Thank you.
Yeah,
And,
and you know
listeners,
what? I want to interrupt you for just a
uh-huh.
second, just because I want to drive this point home for people who are listening. As you sit back and listen to Joan talk about her history from the time that she was in Jamaica to now, if you really notice, there wasn't a time where she gave up. She didn't give up. She kept trying, even though the obstacles came, you found another way to get that education. And that is so important, so vitally important. Just because you come up against a brick wall doesn't mean you can't climb that brick wall. And you pretty much have proven that you can do what you set out to do. And I want to just like give you applause on
Well,
that, Joan,
thank
because I don't
you.
even think you
Thank
talked
you.
about that in the last interview. I don't
No,
I don't think you mentioned that at
no,
all.
because
I'm like, wow, sit back
no,
like I
because you
don't
know
remember
what? I think the first interview we were really talking about my nonprofit, about my LLC, the
this.
We
Yeah.
organization.
Yes.
So all this here kind of ties back into the book, because chapter 3 of the book is my life story. And one thing I want to make sure that I said to your listeners, and this what I'm saying here is not to impress anyone, but to impress upon everyone that all things are possible if you have a positive mindset, which is why my book is actually called The Power of a Positive Mindset.
Right. And I
Yes,
got that book
anything is
too.
possible. Yes, I hope you
Great.
enjoy reading it.
I did. I actually enjoyed it. And what I liked about
Yeah.
the book is that you had different activities in there that will make you think. And I am pretty much blasting on this podcast every time I get a chance, is that anytime you have a tool that you can use to help you better yourself, it's always a good thing. It's not just a book where you just say this is a good read or this is good. It's actually something that's going to make you use your critical thinking skills. And that's what we always need to have. And then it's something you can refer to all the time. So, like I say, you go up to a website or you go to where a book is and you press that button and buy that book.
Absolutely. And while I'm
Yeah.
at it, I also want to use this time to again thank Mr. Leroy McKenzie of JNS Enterprises. He's actually the publisher for this book. So, and he is amazing. So, I got to give credit where credit is due.
Right. He is
So,
definitely amazing. He is
yes,
our one
yes.
of our corporate sponsors,
I
and
heard
he
you
is
mention
definitely.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. So if you need your book published, you know where to
Yeah.
go, JNF Enterprises. So anyway, Joan, back to you. So basically, I kind of interrupted you. You pretty much did the impossible. You pretty much did the impossible, and now you're going for your doctorate degree. What was the defining moment that said, I think I can go for one more degree? Because it seemed that with the on with your business with and then now you have your nonprofit, and then you had all this other stuff going on, that you kind of reached the top of the hill. What was it that made you say, I think I'm gonna go for my doctorate degree now?
Well, a couple of things. Well, the RISA actually came, the nonprofit actually came after the doctorate has already been explored. But it really truly goes back to me trying to satisfy my bargain with God, because if you make a bargain, whether with God, yourself, or anyone else, you must keep it. See, that's the problem that some folks have. They said they're going to do this, they're going to do that, but then they get comfortable and then they forget their promise, and then that is not good. You have to go through with your promises, regardless who you make them to, as long as it's a promise that is in line with the right, is in the right line of your life, and where it's not anything that's going to harm you or anyone else, as long as it's something positive. When you make a promise, you got to stick to those promises, because from those promises, that's where your abundance is going to come from sooner or later.
Okay, and that is true. You definitely have to do what you say and say what you do,
Yes,
and we have to be
exactly.
consistent and we have to be persistent. And those are my two action words: consistent and persistent. If you want to make something happen, opportunities are not going to always come to you, and you have to go out there and create your own opportunities most times. So,
Right.
going out there. So, tell everybody about your new nonprofit. What is the goal? And in any initiatives that you want to share that you want people to know about.
Okay, so my very new nonprofit. It let me see. It is so amazing for this nonprofit in so many ways. It is called RISA. RISA, RESA, was named. It's named after my grandmother. At the time when I launched the company, she was still alive, and when I started the process, she was still alive. And the day when I had the grand opening, the evening before that, she actually went into the hospital, and of course, she passed. But the great thing about it, I'm happy that she knew about it. I told her about it, because this is a woman who taught me everything that I need to know about being a servant leader, to do the things that I do. And so her name was Teresa, so the company was named RISA. And this company is definitely put in place to help take women and girls to higher heights. And the acronym RISA is Rise, Elevate, Soar, Aspire. So with that being said, RISA organization, it is in place so that it can help women and girls who are dealing with any sort of disadvantaged, whether it's domestic violence, homelessness, post incarceration. That is what this RISA is about, to help connect women and girls to services, to have services where they can benefit from, because it's a need. It's a need, and I can emphasize on that enough. It's a need to have an organization in place that can really help these women and girls. And so RISA, again, it started. The launch took place in January of this year, and it's a nonprofit organization, of course, and the website for it is www.risaforwomen.org. And so, again, we will help to connect women and girls to all of the services that are available to them. So, is there any direct question you have for me? Because I could just go on and on about Risa, but do you?
No,
Because
I mean,
this
well,
company means a lot to me.
I know, and you know what? I am so heartfelt that you named this company after your grandmother.
Yeah.
And I do know, and I'm sorry for your loss that you lost your grandmother right around that time. But I think that just like I lost my godmom just last Monday,
Mhm.
and she just like you, she knows of my endeavors. But I think out of that is, you know how they do when someone you love pass, a flower grows or something grows to remind you of them. And this is one of those things where you're blossoming into something beautiful that can benefit so many people, just from the feeling that you have for your grandmother and then putting that emotion and that energy into that company. And I think that these women who are coming to you and getting these services are going to benefit so much because you yourself have a lot of connections to people who are also servants. So, you know what I mean? So, I just think that for me, I just think that this is a wonderful opportunity for this to come out. And so I'm encouraging everybody to connect with you who's listening to the podcast, connect with you and see what services they can offer these young women because there's too many people out here that's in need. And we need to also change our mindset to say, I need help and be not
Yes.
be afraid to say, I can ask a question why I need help. There's going to be times where you're going to be going through struggles and you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to someone who has those services. So I'm encouraging people to, if you know someone that is in need, definitely reach out to people who own this podcast, reach out to me, reach out to Joan, so that we can help you find the services that you need or help provide the services to the people that need the service. So outside of that, for the RISA, can you kind of give us a synopsis of what type of services that you're offering to women so that people who are listening can kind of get an
Mhm.
idea? Because I know you're
Oh,
saying you're connecting them to services, but it'd be nice to know what type of services in particular that you're starting off this year.
okay, absolutely. And so, in addition to connecting folks out to outsource some of these services, there are some services that are provided within the network itself. And so we have mentorship. So RISA mentor girls and women on how to dress and speak in a work appropriate approach. We help with resume writing, completing job applications like mock interviews, and the various training on cultural competency, work ethics, and so on. So we conduct these activities through individual or team-based assignments, workshops, and teach folks about soft skills, job readiness skills, financial literacy. That's the big one, entrepreneurship, and of course we assist with job placement. Then we have the transformational services, and this is where, because we can connect people to a good job all we want, but it's all start with the mindset. So one of the first transformational services teaching folks about mindset. Then we go on to like stress management, time management, building self-esteem, building confidence, personal presentation, personal appearance. All those are stuff that we teach from the transformational services. Then we have support services. These are the ones where I'm currently connecting folks to these outside services, like with connecting people to substance abuse counseling, medical and mental health, psychotherapy, legal services, food services, and domestic violence services to help people to connect them to these services so that they can, have something to look forward to and get the help that they need. But again, so those are like the top three services that we're providing right now. I'm currently incorporated in the District of Columbia and was recently incorporated in Maryland. What my goal for the Maryland program is to do transitional housing, where it's going to be a 12-month program, and the women are able to come there. They go through the whole case management piece. They get accepted into the program. You come there, you find a job, go back to school, whatever it is, but it's a 12-month program at which they need to show some sort of improvement or fully, be on their feet within that 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the goal for the Maryland program.
Okay. Are there any other initiatives that you're working on right now that you want people to know about?
Yes, on June 10th, I will be hosting an event in the District of Columbia at a women's shelter. They have 250 homeless women. And the goal is to provide some food, um, give away toiletries and so forth, and definitely to have motivational speaking because I believe in giving, but I also don't want to have somebody just get used to just, sitting on the waiting line just waiting to get. I need folks to be empowered enough so that they just look at their situation as a temporary situation and know that they can move forward. So there will be some motivational speaking. So with that being said, I'm looking for volunteers. I'm looking for donations. Whether it be monetary donations or if folks want to just give the toiletries, that too. And for those who give and need a receipt, I have my receipt book ready so that folks can write
Okay.
it back off on their taxes. So,
Right,
that's
right.
all in place. But
Okay.
yes, that's going to be like the first big event that I'm going to be
Mhm,
having for RISA. And I
mhm.
probably won't be able to bless all 250 women, but the goal is to have at least 100. Now, I would absolutely love to be able to bless all 250 women, but as a new budding organization, I don't know. And with it being in June, I don't know. So let me see what the cheerful givers may give, and then I'll know from there. But the goal definitely is to reach to bless
Mhm.
at least 100 women.
Okay, so this event is June the 10th, correct?
June 10th, yes.
June the 10th. Okay, so what I'm going to do is because this podcast is actually going to air on June 11th, I am going to, if you send me a flyer, I will put that out on the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast as a call for speakers and see who wants to come and speak or to volunteer or to, render their service to help out in your cause because, again, this podcast will air on the 11th and I don't want people to miss out on this
Okay.
awesome opportunity. So definitely send me the
Yeah.
information on that, and I'll make sure that people get that information. I just think it's phenomenal, Joan, that you have come so far to, since the last time we talked last year,
Yeah.
about we and matter of fact, why don't you tell everybody what we is because I'm saying we, they like, what is
That's
we?
what we like.
Okay, the
We.
Women Entrepreneur Expo. I mean, I went to the
Yeah.
expo and they're like, what is we? Is that French?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we, Women's Entrepreneur Expo, is a semi-annual workshop. Well, I have to change that. Now it's going to be just annually because now that I'm doing RISA, it's kind of hard to have 3 events a year. So we will continue to be in October. And I've been doing this for the past 8 years via conferences and workshops where it is geared towards helping women and girls again to teach them the tips, the tools, and the strategies how to become successful business owners, or for those who started a business, how for them to keep it because, statistics show that after the first 2, 3 years, lots of business go down. So we try to give folks, everything that they need to maintain or to start their business. And we have an array of speakers, vendors, attendees. It's always like about 200, folks networking. So that's what we is about. Definitely to get people started a business for themselves because actually this came about back in 2008. I had just graduated from Howard University, and once you've been through a social work program, your mindset is going to change. And so it so happened that during that time, it was in the heights of the recession, and the statistic at the time showed that if most people, and then from that most people, I narrowed it down to women, if they were making an extra, say, $250 a month, they would have been able to keep their houses. They wouldn't have to sell their house that they bought and worked so hard to purchase, but yet they have to sell it because of $250 extra. So I believe in entrepreneurship. It's good to have the good old government, but having something on the side, it doesn't hurt anyone. It's always a good thing. And from what I've seen also, where I have volunteered in the past with the women going through domestic violence, they have to oftentimes return to their abuser because they simply cannot maintain on their own because they're so dependent on the person taking care of them. And so, in my opinion, if they were able to have something for themselves, to generate that income, that could have prevented a lot of, folks from having to stay in a bad situation. So, with all those things combined, we definitely is a platform and it's open. It's a free event. Did I say free? It's a free event, open to the public. All you got to do is show up and have a mindset of learning, a mindset to learn, and then you will leave with something, that is incredible. And one more thing, and I'm not trying to just be talking like that, but from the
Go ahead
we
and talk like that, Joan. I mean,
from the
come
we
on now.
no, cause from the We Expo,
Mhm.
I have since launched the We TV.
Oh yeah, you
Yes,
do have the Wii TV.
yes,
Yeah,
and
you
it's
have the
it's
Wii TV. How is that going?
it's going great. My business partner and I, we started it. We've recorded 3 recordings so far. We've been recording through DCTV, and so we're getting ready to go back into the studios again so that we can do another taping. And for the ones that have already been taped, it came, of course, on DCTV.org. It was on Comcast, RCN, and a couple of other local channels. But the goal is to start getting them into all the local school channels, and maybe one of these days the goal is to get it on major channels.
Wow,
So
that's
that's the We TV.
fantastic.
Thanks.
Okay, so Joan, at this point of the conversation, because you have so many great things to talk about, I want to shift the focus to people who want to do what you do. Um, with the nonprofit, trying to do WeTV, doing, networking with entrepreneurship and all that. What kind of advice could you give people who want to do what you do?
They got to be, first of all, have the right and a positive mindset. They got to be consistent. They got to be persistent. They just cannot give up. They Folks have to also attend networking events. There is so much power in attending an event where you meet people from all walks of life, different types of businesses. Folks have to get out there and start networking. Yes, social media is great, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, and all the other stuff, but there's nothing like a face-to-face direct contact when folks know they're talking to you. They're talking to Joan. This is the real Joan. You're talking to Joan. Go out there, network, and have your business plan, have your business cards, and open your mouth when you go out to speak. A lot of people attend these business events and they just sit and watch. Ladies,
Exactly.
gentlemen, do not sit on the sidelines and just let everything go past you. Get in the game. Get in the game. I'm not going to say, oh, it's just so easy, but it's also not that hard. If it's something that you really want, you're going to go for it. And just as long as you do it with integrity, that's another piece. We got to act from a place of integrity because a lot of people fall short along the way because they start to act shady and do shady stuff. That won't last. You got to maintain your integrity, network, set your mind to it, and tell yourself that whatever I said I'm going to do, I can do it. I have the power to do what it is that I want to do. Two of my favorite quotes from the book. It says your mindset will either make you or break you. Then I have another favorite quote. It says, when writing the story of your life, don't allow anyone else to hold the pen. See, if you keep those things in mind and just keep working, even when things seem dark, it just look impossible, there is always a possibility. We have to sometimes be like the weeble wobble. You fall down, but you get right back up. Life, nothing is going to be smooth sailing. There's always going to be obstacles, but we have to learn how to move past those obstacles with a positive mindset. We cannot sit and dwell in the negative thoughts and the naysayers. You have to develop that mindset so that when somebody is going to tell you you can't do it, you're going to show them otherwise. You're going to show them that, yes, I can do it. So just be consistent. Just keep that positive mindset. Go after what is it that you want. Get off the sidelines and get in the game. That's the advice that I would give. Those are some of the things that we definitely could do to get past and to get by. Definitely, again, keeping that positive mindset and just embracing everything with all of your potential. Just embrace it and just go after it.
We basically have to get in a game, and just like we say with any lottery or anything, if you don't play the game, you don't win at anything. You don't win. You have to have that confidence, and yes, it could be scary at first when you are a new business owner and you have to go out there and pitch your elevator pitch. But if you kind of think of it this way, that you have to just go out there with a smile on your face and confidence about what you're doing. Make sure that you talk about what you like about them first. Also, talk about what you do and break the ice with them and have that conversation. And you will be surprised to find that there are people out there that have things in common with you that you can network with them about. I mean, I can tell you from experience, when I walked up to Joan at her expo and she was selling her books, I literally walked up to her and say, "Okay, I really want to buy your book. I'm really interested in it. I like what you said." And then I introduced myself. She sat there and she looked at me like, "Wow, okay." But here we are, two
Yeah.
podcasts in, because it was that interaction, and whether or not people have that thing that they want to talk to you at first, if you make it memorable and you could continue to be persistent and consistent, you will be able to network with people and be able to have a florist business, because you can't do it without networking with people, because these people are
Absolutely.
your customers and your allies. So you
Yeah.
definitely have to do that. And in this podcast, it is designed to make allies. So again, reach out to Joan. There's so much good information that she has shared on this podcast today. And if you feel moved, her contact information will be below. Also, make sure you check out all the other pages, because there's so many people. And like I said in the other podcast, is that I'm pretty sure there's something that someone has, says, or can do that can benefit you in some way. So with that, Joan, I want to thank you so much for coming back on my podcast today and giving us an update on what you're doing and all the fantastic things you're doing. And I am definitely very, very happy that you came back to support businesses again and being a role model for all these speakers who are here on this platform this year.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And God willing, I'll be here with you next year again.
I'll grab you. I'll grab you. Be back.
Yes.